Hey, Samantha, how's it going?
So good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you about Yellowjackets because it's such an incredible show. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this show before. I don't think I've
Same.
ever seen anything like this that you've been in.
Yeah.
And you've been in the game for a long time now. Have
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything yourself like this show before? Have you ever been a part of anything quite like this show?
No, absolutely not. I have never, that's what drew me to this script. I reading this script, I was like, I've never seen this and I want to be a part of it so badly. I went into the auditions like I think 5 times auditioning for this show. They put me through the ringer, but let me tell you, I was like, I need to be on this show. And it's been just a blast and just way too much fun.
It was interesting to me that I saw that the director of your pilot episode, as well as your producer, Karan Kusama, had said when they were casting, they weren't necessarily looking for people who looked alike, soul twins, I think. So
Yeah.
are you and Christina Ricci soul twins?
I guess so. That's a really like cool thing because I grew up being such a big fan of Christina. So, it sounds weird to say something like that, but it's funny because when they first told me, after I'd gotten the role that Christina was also playing older Misty, I was like, oh my God, like freaking out because fangirl, but also I was like, I need to see what we look like next to each other, and we somehow they made it look like so believable. It's insane. We do have so many mannerisms that are the same. Even just the way that we talk, it's really cool to see come to life on the screen. And yeah, it's really surreal.
Both of you and a lot of the actors on the show have been in the game for a long time. Do you think that's maybe something else that they were looking for when casting?
Yeah, I think everybody involved has a lot of us have older souls,
Mhm.
and yet still like a youthfulness, a playfulness. I feel that a lot of people on this cast have, which I think just makes it so exciting to watch.
So you had talked about how the two of you kind of formed to the ground rules for Misty, but from what I understand, I mean, looking at you right now, she's very different than you, very different, acts very differently. What's your entry point into the character? How do you feel like her?
I'm almost feel like I'm lucky to have the wig and the contacts and the glasses. It almost feels like I'm putting on this costume of somebody completely different, and even just the wardrobe. When I'm in wardrobe, I walk differently. And I feel different, and there's just a total different energy. And I think that just helps me get into that character a lot easier. And then yeah, I think that I just have so much love for Misty. I know she's she's difficult for other people to love, but I do love her, and I have extreme compassion for her. And I just, yeah, I feel like I'm almost like her protector. So when I get into the costume, I feel different. I don't feel like myself. And at the end of the day, when I take everything off and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, okay, now I'm back to, me. And I never really changed too much. I'm still a goofball on set, and I still am giving everybody shit. But there is a different energy when I'm Misty.
So one of the things that's so interesting is Yellowjackets refers to the team name. They're the soccer team, and Misty is not, I don't know if you consider it part of the team, she's the equipment manager of the team. So kind of with it, but adjacent to it. And I don't know, for some reason, I always come back to Ted Lasso, also about soccer, with
Uh-huh.
Football is Life, with Nate the Great, starting
Yeah,
off
my
as the
roommate
equipment
would be so
manager.
happy that you're talking about Ted Lasso right now.
Yeah. And, I'm wondering, does it feel does it feel like a team? Do you feel like you're like a part of the team? When you're bonding, do you feel like you need to sort of be on the outside, or
It's
do you
funny
feel
because
integrated?
when we were filming the pilot, they were having all of the girls get together and do soccer like practice, and obviously I wasn't involved in that. And I just remember like I was the only one who hadn't met everybody. And there were times when I was like, oh my God, like I really am starting to feel that like, like I know I'm part of this, but I'm also not, and so I remember asking the producers, I was like, can I have the address for where they're playing soccer, and I wanted to just go and watch and cheer them on, just to see how it go. And I actually ended up going to where they were doing practice, and I couldn't find them, and walking around the park trying to find these group of girls, I felt so like silly, I was like, and then I never end up finding them. I don't even know if the cast knows I was like trying to find them at the soccer field, but yeah, there is like when we're doing photo shoots and everybody's in the same outfit except for me, and like like things like that, I think just adds little elements of my understanding for Misty a little bit more, and it's funny because in the show the only person who really has any pictures of all of the team is Misty. Later on in life, the older Misty is the only one who has like that photo in her house, because of how much that team means to her and meant to her. And it's ironic that she's the one who's kind of on the outskirts, but yet it meant the most to her,
When it comes to the girls and a few boys, did you happen to know any of them?
Oh, prior to filming?
Mm-hmm.
No, I met Liv at the audition, and I was actually pretty stoked because I was a fan from Santa Clarita Diet. I was
Yeah,
like,
great show.
So we met at the audition and we talked for a second, but I think that was pretty much it. And everybody else, it was all new people, and it was exciting. I mean, I'm an extrovert and I love people, so I was very excited to have a new group of friends, and especially once we went to Canada, we all got really close, and we were staying in a hotel basically all together every time we would be filming out in the wilderness. And we even said, we're like, we feel like a soccer team that's spending the night before nationals. And, we all had our sweats with our names. Showtime gave us these really cool sweatshirts, and mine had Hanratty on the back. And, it was cool. It felt like a team,
Do you feel like, do you want to get along with everybody? Do you want to,
Yes.
court that conflict? Or is it you turn that off? It's like, you're acting, you're in that moment. And then when you're out of the moment, then they're just people that you're acting with. How much do you feel the conflict?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that me and Misty have in common is the fact that we both want to be liked by people. So I feel like no matter what, I of course wanted to have friendships, and I immediately became friends with the crew. And I mean, I've met some of my favorite people on that set with the crew. And yeah, no, it definitely was the second they called cut, all the seriousness of the show goes away, and you go back to just being yourself and having a good time. And then right before we film a very terrifying, very crazy scene, we get back into it and we film it,
Yeah. What's it like to be in the 90s?
Oh, it's honestly kind of a dream, because for me, I grew up the youngest of 5 girls. So I have 4 older sisters, and I was born in 95. So all of my hand-me-downs, everything that was cool was the 90s for me. Because my sisters were like, preteens and teenagers during that time. So a caboodle is like the it's like a makeup bag, and just all the, the music references, and everything that I looked up to as a kid was in the 90s. And all of my favorite fashion was the 90s. So it's really fun. It's funny though, playing Misty, who's almost stuck in the 80s.
Yeah.
A lot of her, the way she has her hair and her wardrobe, definitely I feel like references the 80s quite a bit.
So I was alive for, this time. We actually I went to a 90s nostalgia party that was hosted by Netflix, and they had a sort of, for me, this is the stuff I knew growing up. Like, I know all the songs and references like that. Like it takes me right back. But for you, when you're, born in the mid 90s, do you have a favorite song from the 90s?
My God. Well, I'll say there's a song I sing in the show, and I do love it. It's the "You'll say we got nothing in common." You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yeah.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, yeah. And I think that's one of my favorite songs. I didn't grow up listening to it. I actually started listening to it because of the show. But just singing it in the show, I mean, God, it was just way too fun. And then I grew up just Spice Girls all the time. I loved Spice Girls. I wanted to be Posh Spice so bad.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm a Spice Girls fan.
I like the way you sing that song too. It's a
Yeah.
lot it's a lot creepier that way.
Yeah.
When Misty's doing it, I like that. I like that you lean
Yeah,
into
I
those
think she
creepy
really
elements
means
a
the
bit.
lyrics she's singing, you know? Like
Yeah.
really means it.
So you were saying before that you had gotten the pilot, and then that was your reference point for a year, that for knowing what was happening. And you were probably so curious as to what, because, you know, in the pilot, there's a big reveal, and that big
Yeah.
reveal may or may not involve you or
Yeah.
involve Misty.
Yeah.
So do you have theories, or did you have theories at the time about what would happen? I'm like making a vision board about what I
Yeah.
think is going to happen. What was your idea
I love
of it?
that. I love that you're doing that. I hope everybody does that.
Mhm.
I yeah, reading the first script, my mind is I'm a wanderer, you know. I love to imagine what's happened before, what's going to happen in the future. And yeah, I feel like after I read the pilot and we started filming, I just kept up coming up with all these different ideas of, you know, well, what if this happens and what if that happens? But they sat me down when we filmed the pilot and kind of talked to me about where Misty was going, and the part that she was going to be playing with in the show. And it's interesting. I think that some of it, you know, because then we had a year where we didn't know if we were getting picked up, and the pandemic happened, and it it all, you know, was kind of just on hold. And then when we got back to it, there were some things that stayed, but I think a lot of things also changed. And so it was really interesting to see kind of more of the different directions that they were taking the characters. And there are a lot of surprises. Each episode, I feel like I read, we would get a brand new surprise, which is really exciting. I get really invested in all the other characters as well, because I'm now a fan of my own show.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen to Shauna? Like, what's gonna happen, you know, to Thaisa? Like, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
So let's take it to the way back machine a little bit.
Okay.
You just joined Cameo, and your Cameo video, you were talking about some of the roles and how people identify you, you know,
Oh
that, you know, maybe on Shameless that you were sort of the crazy person.
yeah.
Sweet Life at Zach and Cody, you were actually quite manipulative on that show too.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed seeing that.
Thank you.
You know, and American Girl, you know, the plot of the movie is that you were sort of being targeted by bullies, that you
Yeah.
were seeking safety over there. What kind of what kind of roles do you like to play in that regard? Do you like to kind of be the insider, the outsider? What have been some of those roles that have really stuck with you?
Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, I've always enjoyed playing the kind of villain. I think they're just so fun and interesting, and I like trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing, and you know, and kind of find my own empathy and compassion for them. And it's really interesting. But I did like when I was younger, oh my God, playing Krista, an American Girl, and having your own doll, and you know, I got to travel all over the US and talk to different schools about school bullying, and I felt for the first time in my career that I was doing something important. And that was just a really big deal for me at that age. And so yeah, so that was really cool. I honestly, I feel like I've been so lucky and blessed in my career to play so many different types of people. And my hope is that I never stick to just one type of person, but I get to play, you know, everybody at some point. Yeah, because that's the whole point. I get to play pretend for a living, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the psychology of my job. So whenever a character is any bit different than myself, I get very, very excited.
Okay, here's the fun part. Favorite
Ooh.
favorite moments of the show, favorite scenes to shoot, maybe you weren't even a part of the scene or you were sort of onto the side. What are some of
Yeah.
those moments in the show that you really enjoyed?
Oh my gosh. I honestly just loved working with Steven, who plays Ben Scott. We have, quite a few one-on-one scenes. And I think those are really rare in our show. It feels like every scene is like this big ensemble. So whenever we have one-on-ones, I think it's just always really nice. And we have some pretty awkward stuff that we do. And it's so funny. Like, it's so funny. And I laugh because it's, I'm playing just this person who doesn't understand a lot of boundaries, and who's so intrigued by, everything around her. And so it's just funny to do, because like for me, I am so cautious on how I'm making people feel. I'm constantly having anxiety of like, oh, I hope I don't say anything wrong, I hope I don't do this or that. And then I'm playing somebody who all of that just goes completely out the door, and it makes it just so funny. And like, it almost feels so young, like she just feels so young to me sometimes. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes, I'll say, because it's not the biggest spoiler in the world, is me helping Ben Scott go to the bathroom at one point. And there's just, it's just my favorite scene. The fact that we didn't stop and just burst out laughing, we kept it so serious, so professional, and my boyfriend was on the set, and I think that was one of the first scenes he actually saw us film. Yeah, it was pretty funny to then like call cut and go over to him and be like, okay, like, what'd you think of that? And he's like, your job is crazy, honey. It was just so fun. So yeah, that's one of my favorites for sure.
One of the things I really like about your show is that it's content that, pushes the envelope a little bit. It's something we haven't seen before. I want to dip into your preferences as viewer. What kind of stuff do you like to watch?
I think that's why I love Showtime so much, because I loved Shameless. Before I was on Shameless, I loved Shameless because I felt like same thing. They pushed the envelope, and it's so real and raw of like, people are messy. People are, we're an interesting species, and it's just fun to see the things that we do, and to be on a network where they show all of that is really nice. And so yeah, I really I love Shameless, and same with Dexter. I'm a big fan, and I'll stop saying Showtime shows because but I mean, honestly, truly, they are some of my favorite shows. And then I watched Naked and Afraid. Great show.
Relates to yours as well too. Good tie-in.
And it totally helps me with my job, and Survivor. I'm all about it. And I just started watching iZombie. It's on Netflix right now, and I just have binged the crap out of it. And it's really fun. So I always like a little bit of edge with some comedy thrown into it. That's kind of my thing, Oh, and I gotta watch the new season of Handmaid's Tale. That's also another show that not funny, not funny.
But some funny moments.
Yeah, but yeah. God, it's so good. It's so good. If they're doing another season, I would love to be on that show. Let me tell you.
This season is pretty intense.
I am so excited to see it. Oh my gosh.
This is public knowledge already, so I'm allowed to say it.
Okay.
The characters on your show eat human flesh, and you're a vegan. You're an animal-loving vegan.
Yes.
So they had to find a substitute. So you got to eat Beyond Meat, which was, I think it was venison for everybody else, and you got to eat Beyond Meat venison that was in the style. Take it away.
Yeah.
I got to hear all about this.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because, like I said, I have anxiety. I never want to step on toes and be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's not how I am. But I am vegan, and I'm not just like vegan. I'm like, I go to the slaughterhouse and give pigs water type of vegan. And so I was having, a difficult time being around all of the animal furs, but we have an amazing wardrobe team that made sure that I was always fully wearing nothing that was real, which is so sweet. And then same thing with the meat. They use Beyond Meat, which is awesome because our props master, Marcella, she's also vegan. So she totally understood and it was great. And then we also have Courtney, who's also vegan on set, who plays Lottie. So we have there's a couple of vegans, you know, so I wasn't the only one. And then everybody else who was vegan, I think was eating like tofu mushroom mush during some of it. And then I was mainly doing the Beyond Meat because I'm allergic to soy and mushrooms. So yeah, so they really made it work for me, which was really very nice of them.
So I got to ask you in that vein, what do you think would happen if it was you? Do you think you'd be able to survive? How do you think you'd be able to survive?
They would have eaten me. They would have eaten me. I don't know. I don't know. I'm vegan who's allergic to everything. So I feel like I can't, you know, ask the forest for, you know, something, you know, like gluten-free, dairy-free, like, you know, but I think there are some things that I have like some knowledge on, you know, like I've learned through watching Naked and Afraid how to like get your water source and all that. And I think if I had a foraging book, I think I would be good, you know, as long as I knew what berries to eat and what vegetables to eat out in the wilderness, I think I would be okay. But if not, I'm totally screwed and dead.
And there may or may not be a supernatural element to the show as well, too. Do you believe? What do you believe in?
Oh, outside of the show, what do I believe in? I believe,
or maybe Misty feels completely different. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe in a lot of things. I believe in mermaids. I believe in aliens. I believe in ghosts. I've had ghost experiences before. Actually, on my way, I drove from Vancouver back to California. And on my way back, I swear my friend and I stopped in the most haunted place of my life. Like we were like, we need to get out of here. It was in Oregon and it was, I don't know, this little town, and we stopped in it and I swear there were ghosts around and it's a whole story, but it was very scary. So I definitely believe in ghosts. Yeah, I believe in a lot of things. I believe in it all.
What do you think in a show like this that's very much about, I don't know, looking into the past? I want to say nostalgia, but I don't know if it's quite nostalgia. Yeah. What does it feel like for you when you've been acting for 20 years? When you look back on your performances growing up in the business, how does that feel for you? You know, do you feel like there's sort of that looking back and thinking, wow, this was something I really enjoyed?
Yeah, I think I'm always nostalgic. Like my mom came with me to the premiere yesterday and was that yesterday, 2 days ago? And just having her there, I'm gonna like get emotional. We were passing this place I used to audition like all the time for commercials. She's just like, I remember when we used to drive here and we didn't have a GPS and we just had this like map. It's like this big map of California and I'd have to, follow and tell her which streets to go on. And my parents just, them letting me do this, like giving me a shot to do this crazy thing called acting that I was begging for since I was 2. I'm so grateful looking back on everything I've done. And yeah, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. And this is what I've worked for my entire life, is to be on a show like this. And the fact that it's here is just surreal. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I really enjoyed, I told you, but I really enjoyed your show. Yellowjackets, I think, is so cool. It's been so amazing hearing from you to get a chance to hear a little bit about the show and about Misty. What do you want people to look out for? Are there any clues that you think they should notice?
I want everybody to feel the way that I feel every time I read an episode. I want people to be sitting on the edge of their seat, excited and wanting more. And I want them to be so confused on certain parts. And then once they see or hear or, get the thing that they're looking for, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. I want them to be just as excited as I am about the show.
So yeah, it's been amazing and I really appreciated this. And thank you so much. I'm a little afraid of you based on your performance on the show. I'm still a bit afraid.
Also what I hope everybody's afraid of me after this.
Afraid and then in the best way. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you.